What if you could biohack your brain to think clearer, to feel better, and perhaps even age slower or uh, return to like a Benjamin Button type of thing where you're aging backwards without drugs and without invasive treatments? What if? What if by unlocking your brain's potential, by working with your body as opposed to against your body, things could change for you in a heartbeat? Well, today we have Dr. John Silva. He is what I call my brain whisperer. He's been coming into the classroom sharing about all the different ways that you can work with your brain, kind of like change the way that it's shooting off signals to within your brain. All these different ways that you can control the way you think, the way you act, perhaps maybe stress less and be able to be bolder. Could you do that naturally? Oh, yes. And I'm living proof of that. And Dr. John Silva is here today because he is going to share different biohacking techniques to help your brain. So get your pencils and paper because we're going to take a lot of notes so we can learn and grow together. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you. Hi, my name is Lily McDermott, and I'm a certified life coach. I am a certified holistic cancer coach and the host of the Lillian McDermott radio show Classroom. If this is your first time in the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, today we're going to be talking about biohacking the brain. But part of that, and I want to remind you all, neurofeedback is what got me into this world of hacking and to improving on my brain. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're also going to be talking about different ways that you can biohack your brain that is affordable, that is doable, and that you can maybe manage and even control your outcomes. And so today, I'm excited to bring Dr. John Silva into the classroom. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. John Silva is here to do just that. Welcome to the classroom, Dr. Silva.
It's wonderful to be back, Lily. I'm looking
I
forward
know.
to this one.
I know it seems like it's been ages since we've seen each other. So I'm so
Yeah, I
glad that
know.
we had our little time together. I sound like Carol Burnett. I'm so glad we had this time together and we get to talk and experience, some of the changes that are happening. And the fact that you're going to be at the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit is exciting to me. It's really exciting to me. And I'm sure everybody that's going to be there is going to keep your booth pretty busy. So let's talk a little bit about neurofeedback and biohacking. Is there a difference between the two, between neurofeedback and biohacking?
Great. Yeah, great question. So neurofeedback, which we've discussed many times on our show, and I'll touch on that just briefly, is a way to enhance our brain's performance, our brain's function. It uses EEG technology to monitor brain waves in real time, looks for any irregular patterns in those brain waves, and then provides your brain a feedback mechanism, typically through watching videos or listening to music. And your brain adjusts its brain waves accordingly into a more desirable pattern. And over time, it's just as with any of these things we'll discuss today, it's not a one and done. It's something that you could consistently stay at to improve your overall health. But neurofeedback is specifically, in summary, a form of feedback or biofeedback, but for the brain. And why I always put that at the very top of my list for any ailment. Now, here's the powerful thing about neurofeedback is, yes, we definitely can use it, and it's very applicable for virtually all brain-based conditions. ranging from problems with cognitive issues like lack of attention, problems with concentration, focus, memory, all those cognitive things. But it also has an application for emotional dysregulation, as I like to call it. So if people are overwhelmingly stressed in their life, perhaps anxiety, panic attacks, even trouble sleeping, or depressive traits, or full-blown depression, bipolar, PTSD. Some people have experiences of all of that stuff. So it has an application there because our emotions, our thoughts are all generated by our brain, and our brains function through our brain waves. So neurofeedback is a way to non-invasively correct the imbalances in these brain waves. So again, cognitive functions, emotional dysregulation or emotional problems, and then last, behavioral problems. So I work especially with kids in that arena, kids that are very impulsive, hyperactive, perhaps very aggressive, agitated. Of course, adults fit that profile as well. It helps to correct the imbalances that cause these abnormal behavioral patterns in either kids or adults. So, but what I try to help people understand is remember that every single physiological function, from the brain down to our toes, is ultimately controlled by our central nervous system, which consists of our brain and our spinal cord, and the brain being command central. It's a supercomputer that regulates your blood pressure, regulates your digestion, regulates your breathing, regulates a lot of the autonomic functions, as we call them, that you don't even have to think about. Again, just the fact of breathing. Until you're in a situation like people who have panic attacks, when they're in full-blown panic attack, yeah, breathing is on top of mind because they have struggled breathing. They're usually shallow breathing and they're trying to work through that. But for the most part, most of us go through our life without giving any thought to breathing or our food digesting or our heart rate. That is all happening subconsciously and masterfully by our brain. But what happens is when our brain becomes imbalanced and these brain waves don't function properly, it can start to have, again, problems with cognitive, emotional, and behavioral regulation, but it can also affect your other systems and your other physiological functions. So just for instance, pain, chronic pain is a perfect example. I've seen many people who have gone through the process of neurofeedback therapy from home, and as an end result, their chronic pain diminishes. And I've even had a couple of folks where their pain, no matter where it was in the body, actually resolved. And we never even addressed the areas of their body or the one particular area in their body where they're feeling their pain. Because ultimately, we perceive our pain in our brain. Yes, we may have physical damage to the region of our body that is firing off these pain receptors, but ultimately it's the brain that processes all that. And when you've got someone that has a dysregulated brain, maybe anxiety, sleep issues, cognitive issues, these are the people that also tend to have heightened pain compared to someone in their household or someone who doesn't have as much brain dysregulation. They may have a similar pain, but it's not at the degree for the person who has all this brain dysregulation. So I've seen neurofeedback do wonders in helping people with manage their chronic pain and even eliminate it in some cases. And that's just one example. I've also had people report to me that they have better gastrointestinal function, better cardiovascular function. And it makes sense because, again, this is command central. So neurofeedback is, in my opinion, is like the gold standard or the first and foremost thing we look at in this realm of biohacking. It really should be because this is where it's at.
And then with biohacking, you're just doing when you're biohacking the brain. So you're saying that neurofeedback is part of biohacking the brain.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's so many different ways to biohack our body. So let's discuss that. So, I mean, up until probably 15 years ago, maybe not even 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I don't think there was even a term that existed called biohacking. So what is it? What does that mean? Is that hacking? It's like almost like hacking a computer or
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
improve the way your computer or some advanced technology works. And that's in essence what biohacking is all about, is using non-traditional, what I mean by that is non-traditional medical interventions, whether it be medication or surgeries or medical interventions. Those are reserved for acute situations, infectious stuff. But using a number of different things, and you can't even keep up these days. There's so many biohacking interventions or therapies, and most of these are accessible to most people, can be used in the household. But these are things to enhance our brain and body's ability to not only recover and heal from injury or inflammation or whatever have you, but more importantly, the whole realm of biohacking is about longevity, energy, having energy not only to get through our day, but have energy when we age into our 80s and 90s and still have the physical capacity and the mental capacity to be motivated to get out and do things, as opposed to what we've been kind of conditioned as we see the people before us, our grandparents, our parents perhaps, who get into their 60s and 70s and they tend to start slowing down. These are when the chronic diseases kick in, and they get to a point where unfortunately some of these people end up in healthcare facilities that they have to be constantly monitored and taken care of. Life should not be that way. We are genetically programmed to live well beyond 100 years old and still be able to get up, physically be active. Yeah, we may not be running marathons, we may not be cycling for hours at a time, but we should be able to get up and be mobile and have our memories, both short, long-term memory, be able to be socially active and contribute to our family and our society even beyond 100. And I know this for certain because I know a couple of people who have, in fact, the oldest that I know living right now is 103 years old. And if it weren't for her physical limitations of her hips and back, her spine, she is in most of the time in a wheelchair because it's tough for her to be weight bearing and get around. But otherwise, she is sharp as a tack and she's witty and funny at 103 years old.
That's
But
wonderful.
we again, we've been conditioned in our culture that that's old. I mean, if you're lucky to get to that point, you're probably spent the last 20 of those years or 10 of those years in a nursing facility or assisted
Yeah.
living facility. It shouldn't, it doesn't have to be that way. So biohacking is looking at these things that we have access to now that we've had more access to in the past, applying these on a daily basis or on a regular basis to improve our longevity is one of the main goals,
Yeah.
but to take care of us in the here and now. And again, address and deal with the things that might come up on a daily, monthly, annual basis as far as infectious problems or acute injuries. There's so many therapies, and we'll talk about some of them today that can accelerate the natural innate healing processes of our body.
Yeah.
And what's wonderful about the biohacking realm is so many of these therapies have become much more affordable. They're very easy to use compared to years past, and most of them can all easily be done from home. You don't necessarily have to go to a clinic that used to be considered on the cutting edge like mine 10, 15 years ago. They've been scaled down, they're affordable, the whole family can participate in these things. Again, they're not your traditional medical
Mhm.
devices or interventions.
Yeah, yeah, and I want to remind everybody that Dr. John Silva did a rewiring the brain with neurofeedback training 2.0, and we're giving that away. So if you're interested in watching the webinar that we did, you need to text me at 407-373-5959, and I'll send you the code to get it for free. And so it is amazing. I really loved this one because we really focused on the brain this time. And the last time we looked at different reasons why, but let's quickly go through before we start talking about the biohacking techniques that we're going to be talking about today for the brain. Let's talk about some of the reasons people, and very quickly, some of the reasons that could be causing us to need to rewire the brain. What are some of the, you've already talked about stress, you already talked about ADHD, but is there anything that could be chemical or physiological that could be causing a need for the rewiring of the brain?
Yeah, probably number one thing or sign or symptom that your brain is not functioning at its best, sleep issues. Okay, so many people have sleep issues, and again, it comes in a number of different degrees and a broad spectrum of how people suffer
Why?
with sleep
Yeah.
issues. So
Hmm.
some people struggle getting to sleep. They can't shut their mind down. It's constantly racing. They could be laying there for half hour. I've heard people up to 2 hours before they
Yeah.
finally manage to get to sleep. So that's just one issue. And again, and just to, so everyone knows what healthy sleep should look like, you should be able to put your head on the pillow at the time that you intend to, and hopefully that's a routine schedule for you. And part of what I do is not only providing the therapies and the interventions, these biohacking tools, and show people how to use them, but let's set up a routine. Let's talk about sleep habits because it all comes down to what we're doing to our own selves that we don't realize. We're sabotaging our sleep by staying up late at night, having blue LED emission from our phone, because we're scrolling through social media or watching television late at night or we're gaming. These are not healthy for sleep, for conducive sleep. But nonetheless, all these things that I just mentioned disrupt how our brains function through our brain waves. So again, getting to sleep can be an issue, or it can also be an issue where people are waking up throughout the evening just because their brain just startles and they're awake. And then maybe they have struggle getting back to sleep again. It takes them a relatively long time. And by the way, coming back to putting your head on the pillow, you should be sound asleep within 10 to 15 minutes at most. That's healthy sleep. And what I tell people is go back to your childhood, assuming that you didn't have any sleep issues as a child, which most children don't. But if you can remember way back when you were still a child, when you were told to go to bed or you did finally go to bed, you put your head in the pillow, you went right to sleep, and you didn't wake up until the next morning until your parents got you up to go to school or it was summertime and you just wanted to get out and play with your friends.
Oh, the
And
good
you
old
felt,
days. All the good old
yeah,
days.
yeah, the good old days. And they should still be the good old days, even to our older ages.
Yeah.
But and here's the other point. So I take that one step further. Think about when you did wake up as a child, especially in summertime, because yeah, school may not be motivating for a lot of kids, but summertime, you woke up, you were wide-eyed, refreshed, energized, ready to go. You were ready to face your day with energy and vigor and motivated. Most people, they struggle to get out of bed. They keep hitting the snooze on their alarm. When they do finally get out of the bed, it's aches and pains. They need that first cup of coffee, perhaps the whole pot of coffee to get a little stimulation to get going. That is not a healthy sleep cycles that you should be going through. So there's a lot to sleep. I mean, we can probably discuss sleep for over an hour, but it is a common sign and symptom of a brain that is not functioning properly. So it's something to not brush off. If you're having sleep in any way, again, struggle getting to sleep, waking up frequently, struggle getting back to sleep, or you're not feeling refreshed and energized when you do get up in the morning. So maybe you are sleeping through the whole evening, but you're waking up and you're sluggish. These are all signs that your brain is probably not functioning properly. So, and then of course, the emotional issues, the emotional turmoil, the negative thought patterns that we may consistently repeat in our mind every day. These are all the way our brains have been unwired or rewired in unhealthy patterns. For a lot of people, it's just a matter of years long stressors, whether it be their work environment, their home environment. And when we say rewiring, you literally can rewire these unhealthy patterns of negative rumination or negative thought patterns or woe is me or depressive traits or anxiety. These things can be rewired out of your brain to where you can live a healthy, vital life, positive thoughts most of the time, able to take on the daily stressors and the bigger life stressors with ease. There is a time to be stressed. There is a time to have the stress response kick in your body, but that should not be prolonged for hours at a time or day after day. That's where we start to suffer chronic issues.
No, and okay, now that you're talking about sleep, let's kind of like weave in the biohacking here.
Hmm.
You do like when I was going through one of the main reasons that I wanted to do the neurofeedback, which helped me beyond this was my sleeping patterns, and waking up and having 2 hours sleep and then being able to work another 12 hours and work around the clock another 22 hours. So one of the things that you had shared with me, that you have some nutraceuticals that help, and personally, I wanted to figure out the root cause for me and my issues, but you say that there's a lot of people taking these nutraceuticals that are helping with sleep. Since you talked about sleep, let's go dive into the
Sure.
nutraceuticals if
Yeah. Yeah.
that's good for you.
Yeah, so nutraceuticals, nutritional supplements for the rest of us. But I like to use the term nutraceuticals because these aren't the ordinary things that you can buy at your GNC or your Walgreens, whatever have you. These are more specialized formulations that combine numerous ingredients or supplements into one powerful remedy, so to speak. And there's some great stuff that I've been using for sleep with my clients for many years now. And where I've taken my application and use in my own personal life, but also I pass this on to my clients, is I like to try to streamline the nutraceutical use. So no different than pharmaceuticals. I mean, you shouldn't be taking a bunch of pharmaceuticals to exist throughout your day. Same thing with nutraceuticals, even though they're natural and there hardly if no side effects, I still would rather, as you mentioned, not have to have a dependency. So let's always be working on the root causes as to why a person might be struggling with sleep. So yes, let's use some sleep remedies to initiate healthy sleep, get to sleep quicker, stay asleep through the whole evening, and waking up the next morning refreshed. And there's some great formulations in the marketplace. One of my favorites in most of how I've approached this over the last several years is to, again, combine a number of nutrients into one formulation. So it makes it easier to take than a bunch of pills and capsules. So speaking about sleep, we typically will use calming agents like GABA, CBD sometimes, CBD oils, or some version of CBD. We're trying to use these calming agents to kind of calm and relax the nervous system and the brain, so we get a good night's sleep. We can fall asleep quicker. And so much of this is in what I recommend to my clients is in a liquid or tincture form, or even spray form. So which is really nice because you don't have to take a bunch of pills and capsules. And what I like about liquid or tincture forms is they're much more rapidly absorbed. In fact, I usually will instruct my clients to hold the liquid in their mouth for about 30 seconds to 60 seconds because you get immediate absorption directly into the bloodstream, bypassing the digestive processes. And then a step further than that is trying to use nutraceuticals that are in what we call a liposomal form. Okay, so if we look, and this is the fascinating thing about this, it's just understanding the basics of cell biology. So, and I know you've had Bruce Lipton on your show before. I mean, you read his book. Everything in our life comes down to the cells in our body. We have trillions of them. And of course, they differentiate into our heart cells, our lung cells, our brain cells, which are called neurons, our bone cells. But nonetheless, all these cells have some common traits. They all function almost the same way. We have what's called the membrane, which is like the shell of the cell. And that membrane helps to keep toxins out from entering, helps to allow certain nutrients to pass in, toxins to pass out. It's a very vital part of our overall health. Is just the membrane. We haven't even gotten to this inside the cell yet, but that membrane is almost like a separate brain of itself. It has these channels that allow certain things that pass in and out. But what happens is throughout our lifetime, because of inflammation, because of toxins, that membrane becomes fragile, becomes damaged. And now we have a tough time with toxins entering when they shouldn't, or toxins not being able to be eliminated. Maybe we got blockages in getting nutrients into our cells, where all the magic of how our bodies function is at the cellular level. So point being is coming back to liposomal nutraceuticals. Liposomal, they basically take all the ingredients and they encapsulate it into a fatty, almost like a shell around it. What that does is it allows that to go through the cell membrane with ease, as opposed to just taking a supplement where, say, for 100% of that supplement you take, maybe 10% of it makes it into the cell where it's going to have its ability to do its work. With liposomal, you're getting almost full absorption into the cell membrane, into the cell. So I'll give you an example, and this is just an example of a tincture. This is a liposomal liquid iodine that I put into my liquid multivitamin every day. This is, I mean, everyone should be on some type of iodine, regardless of whether you have thyroid issues or not. It's just most of us are thyroid or iodine deficient. But this is a liposomal form, so this is going to be much more absorbed into our cells where it counts.
Do you have that
Okay,
in
so
your website?
I do for my clients, I do have an online kind of one-stop shop, almost
Oh,
like an
okay.
Amazon
So
for
what is
all the best
okay?
nutraceuticals out there. Yeah,
Yeah. What is the name of
this is
your
one.
which one do you
This
do you
specific one, and there's several. This one's made by a company called Vinco. There's several different ones out there, and
okay.
that's one of the things I've tried to do too. Is again for my own personal benefit, but I pass that on to my clients. Is not only to streamline these things, preferably put it into a liquid format,
Hmm.
but I try to vet the best companies out there.
Yeah.
I've done the research. If I haven't visited their centers, I've talked to their people at the top, their research scientists. I've gone to their trainings, and they make a superior product, and they have a lot of research to support their products are actually doing what they are intending to do. And more importantly, I see the clinical results when people take these supplements compared to what they may have been taking either on their own or trying to figure things out by reading the latest from Dr. Oz or seeing something on television or seeing an infomercial. And again, there's some good products out there, I'm sure, that are sold through infomercials and such, but we want to try to find formulations that are going to be necessary for our needs and to try to make them efficient. So that's part of what I do as my services. But again, I do work with so many people remotely, so I don't really stock anything in my clinical practice anymore because so many people I work with are all around the state of Florida and the United States. So they have a one-stop shop that they can go, and it's just like Amazon. Usually within a couple of days, they have the products that I've recommended. I can give them the exact dosages that they might need, and the intention is to help them to recover from whatever they're working with me to address. And if it's biohacking, then hey, great. You know, there's some great nutraceuticals within the realm of biohacking for the
Yeah.
body, but also the brain to enhance our cognitive abilities, to give us that energy, to keep our minds sharp, to improve sleep.
So what I'm hearing you say is that iodine is good for the brain as well? I mean, is that what I'm hearing you say for
Yeah, I mean, it's
biohacking?
good for our entire body. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so biohacking the body, not just necessarily the brain. So are there other nutraceuticals that you recommend that are important for the brain and the body, I guess?
Yeah. So I call it my foundational supplements. We need to be on a good whole food based. And if you're anyone listening to this, either write it down, whole food based multivitamin, multimineral, preferably liquid, because again, you're going to get much more rapid absorption and assimilation into the cells. And again, there's some products that I recommend. In fact, I've been personally taking a product for over 12 years now that combines over 415 ingredients or nutrients into one ounce. It's got a wonderful peach mango flavor down the hatch, and you've got most of what I mean. I've literally had people come into my physical practice, or they'll send me a list through the online portals that I use to communicate and for people to send their records to me. And I've seen people come with bags or boxes full of stuff. I'm like, all right, priority number one, let's see if we can streamline all this. And people are so happy with that. It's like I can eliminate a lot of these pills and capsules that I'm having to remember to take throughout the day. That's a lot to swallow. What if we could take all that and maybe make it a couple of ounces of a liquid or a couple of tinctures or sprays? People are ecstatic with that.
Mhm.
And again, not only is it easier, more efficient, but we're also seeing better results because of the formula, the way these things are designed and formulated. So whole food based multivitamin mineral, vitamin D. And again, a good multivitamin is going to have some degree of vitamin D, but for most people, they're usually deficient, and we need to add additional vitamin D, at least for a few months, to boost their levels up. And the reason why I stress vitamin D, because it's part of over, I think it's 2,500 biochemical processes in our body at the cellular level. So think about that. Of all the physiological processes that have been mapped out biochemically in our body, vitamin D is a key ingredient in most of those. So a simple vitamin D deficiency can cause so many problems. And then iodine.
including depression, which people
Oh
don't
yeah,
even
of
know.
course.
Low vitamin D can create
Yep.
depression, and it could
Yep.
open the door to cancer and autoimmune disease if your vitamin D levels are too low. You see, the
So
doctors
much
don't say
application.
that. You do a test and your D levels are at 30, and that's good for the allopathic community. But if you want optimal health, that is not good.
Oh
Not
no,
good.
that's low. That's low. Yeah, we need to be up and boost those levels up. And it's so easy to take. And again, vitamin D that I use, it looks much like this. It's in a dropper bottle. Each drop equates to 1,000 IU. So whether I have to take all those gel caps, and it's in liposomal form. So you're going to get most of the efficiency, the effectiveness of that vitamin D drop compared to all the capsules that you might take, where most of that's just processed and lost through digestion, never really makes it into the cell past the cell membrane.
Yeah.
So again, one of the things I try to relate to people, and again, you don't necessarily have to have remembered cell biology from when you were back in high school. For a lot of us, that was many years ago. But even if you just go online, that's the wonderful thing about online or even AI these days. Just look at a picture of a cell. Okay, the typical picture is a circular thing with the membrane. Just get familiar with the basics. Hey, what's inside of our cells? Oh, look at these little things called organelles, our nucleus, our mitochondria, which is another important part of biohacking. So just since I brought it up, mitochondria, we have numerous within our cells. These are the parts of our cells that their sole purpose is to take oxygen, to take what we've digested from our food, run that through a chemical process, and create energy. Energy is essential to all life. It's what drives our cells. It's what drives our energy levels. It's what drives our cognitive abilities. It's what we need. And we produce this energy in the form of ATP. These are like the units of energy. But that one part of our cell, if that is broken down, that biochemical process is broken down at any one of those 20 plus steps, you now have this low output of these ATP units, this energy. So not only do you feel drained and fatigued and brain fog and problems with memory, maybe anxiety, but these are typically the people that just don't have the energy to get through the day. They're physically exhausted or winded from just doing basic activities around the house. These are the people that can't think straight. They're taking naps throughout the day. That one little part within our cell, if it's not optimized and running properly, and it's so easy to optimize through nutraceuticals alone can do it, that can make a world of a difference for people. And I've seen it by paying attention to that one part of our cell called the mitochondria. And there's so much research and science supporting this for decades now.
I'm telling you, I really have gotten to the conclusion that all disease is mitochondrial damage. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that mitochondria, and as I've dove into the mitochondria because I've been doing the hydrogen therapy or the methylene blue or something like that that helps with mitochondrial damage. I found out that the mitochondria, I thought, okay, one cell, one mitochondria. No. One cell
Oh,
might have 100 or 1,000 to 2,000 mitochondria. So those little things are really, really tiny, but
yeah.
create a lot of effort. I mean, it's very crucial to our health, which, is not taught enough in life. How
Yeah.
important our cells are in our body and how we control those cells with the way we think and the way we act and the way we, do those things. So I'm going to take a little break because I do want to talk about the website and the fact that Dr. John Silva is going to be at the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit for Cancer and Autoimmune Disease. So he will be there. So you can go there and talk to him about biohacking and neurofeedback and all those things. Because remember, if your brain isn't functioning properly, it's going to send the wrong signals to your body. And so you fix your brain, then all of a sudden things start changing. And maybe I'm wrong in having this way of simple thinking, but and Dr. Silva can correct me later on, but I just want to encourage you all to realize that if you have some form of diagnosis or condition, chances are there's malfunctioning in the brain that will lead to malfunctioning in the body, and that mitochondrial health. And there's going to be a lot of different things that you can do at this, the I'm the Solution Natural Health Summit for Cancer and Autoimmune Disease on November 1st in Rockledge, Florida. And it's going to be a full day on a Saturday, so you don't have to take off from work if you don't work on the weekends. And that day, you're going to be able to experience different ways because now that you have a condition, how do you reverse it? How do you reverse it naturally? And so we're going to have lots of experts getting up there and teaching us new truths so that we can start fixing the command center of our universe, which are all these cells in our body. So I want to encourage you to save the date, November 1st. Get your tickets as soon as we put them on sale. And of course, when you get it early registration gets $25 off their coupon, whether it's their ticket, whether it's a regular admission or VIP admission. Everybody gets $25 off for the first, I think, month or so. But November 1st, that is the date that we're all going to come together and we're going to make a plan to not just biohack our body, but to make some commitments of love to our body. Because if we got ourselves sick, we can unsick us. We can improve our health. So I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. While you're there, please subscribe, like and follow me on all social media. Share this video as part of your way to help the classroom grow. There's different ways to do so, but one of the ways that you can check out my sponsors, check out the people that are sharing this information in the teachers that are sharing this information in the classroom. Also, you can go to my Shop Now bag and from head to toe, whether it's makeup or pain management, maybe cognitive decline. We can talk to you about the 45-minute free consult that you can get with Dr. Silva. Just let me know that you would like that, and I will text you the link to schedule that appointment with Dr. Silva. We also have the the Rewiring the Brain with Neurofeedback Training 2.0 that we are giving away, but you need to text me at 407-373-5959, or you can email me at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com, and we can send you the link and how to get in for free and view this wonderful 2-hour webinar with Dr. John Silva. I want to encourage you to also become an enrolled student in the classroom, whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month. I'm so grateful to all you supporters. And it doesn't matter to me how much, but of course, God loves a generous giver, and I do too. And I love you all. $1, $1,000 a month, a one-time donation, even of your time, your talent, your treasure. Like I said, sharing this video, getting your friends involved and say, hey, let's go to Lily's Summit and let's reverse autoimmune disease. Let's reverse cancer naturally. Let's figure out a way. Is there a way? Come in if you are just like a skeptic, come to just prove us wrong and correct us. And then you can learn new truths once you hear the responses from the teachers that are going to be in there. So please consider becoming a generous donor of the classroom and help us grow the class and continue to bring these truths to the world. Today we have Dr. John Silva, and if you can see right here how to get a hold of Dr. John Silva, again, I would love to get you to meet Dr. Silva and at the summit. I'm so grateful that you're going to be there, Dr. Silva, at the summit, and I'm sure you're going to have a pretty popular booth.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be here before we know it. I mean, the year, the months are just flying by here. So
Right, last I checked was a week ago, and it was 120 days. I'm like, oh my God, we're just like right around the corner. So we're really excited about that, and I'm excited that you're coming here for that as well.
yeah.
So Dr. Silva, we talked about nutraceuticals. Is there anything else that you want to say there, or can we move on to red light
Yeah,
therapy?
let's move on. But it's interesting as you were talking there. I just had my phone's on top of my desktop. I have it on vibrate, but I just had a message come up from one of my biohacking tools reminding me to do my morning check-in. And this is the great thing about technology nowadays. And I'll share this one with you. Wasn't even intending to share this one, but it's so powerful. But it's a metabolic monitoring device. So much of why people suffer with any chronic disease is because of poor dietary habits, not getting the right nutrients. So there's technologies now that were, again, up until a couple of years ago, only available to have this type of assessment if you went to a laboratory or you went to a physician's office. And there weren't even many around that did this type of analysis. Now it's been scaled down into a little device that you breathe into. It links up to an app on your phone. And throughout the day, at least first thing in the morning. So the alert I was getting is I missed my morning check-in because I got up out of bed and I had to tend to something right away out of the house. So it's reminding me to do my morning check-in before I have my first meal. But it allows you to measure your personal metabolism, which is so vitally important. And I've consulted with people. I've given them certain dietary plans to follow based on their needs, based on their condition. And that's all fine and good. Things like ketogenic diet, Paleolithic diet, but they're kind of like a one size fits all, and that may not be the right approach for that one individual because we all have our individual metabolic processes going on and our metabolic deficiencies. So this is a device. It's a breath analysis. Like I said, it takes just a few seconds in the morning. You can test throughout the day. You can see how your metabolism reacts to certain foods. And basically what you do is you breathe into it. It shows up on your app, shows you a score from 1 to 5, 1 being that you're in fat burning mode, your metabolism is highly refined and efficient, 5 being you're metabolically unstable. And these are probably people who are on the borderline of diabetes or have diabetes or other chronic diseases. But what's neat about it is it shows you exactly for what your needs are at that moment, that day, and something you can follow and you can start to adjust. But it goes beyond that. What's really clever about it is based on that breath analysis, it'll show you and break down your ratio of what we call the macronutrients, what you should be eating for that day in terms of fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. And it even goes as far as using AI technology to log your foods. You can even scan the barcodes on foods nowadays, and it keeps tally of what you're eating throughout the day and shows you if you're over your limit of any one of those 3 macros. And big deal, you do go over the next day, you
What's
get to
it
see the
called?
next morning when it's
What's
called Lumen.
Lumen? I've heard of
Lumen, yeah.
Lumen. Okay. Now,
It's one of the
is that
biohacking
something
tools.
that you have on your website, or is that something that people can just
Again,
get?
something that I provide through my clients as a way to be able to, again, get their mitochondria, get their cells most optimized when it comes to nutrition. And that's such a big part of why people suffer is because of poor nutrition, toxic foods, not the right balance or ratio of macronutrients based on their individual needs. So what I love about this, forget about all the diet plans, forget about keto. I'm not saying that these things don't work, but this is going to tell you what you need at that instance. And what I really like about this is, again, now you can start to really test, hey, is this food affecting me? Is this beverage affecting me? I like to test my aerobic exercise. So I do a lot of cycling. And I found it so fascinating when I do my workouts. I wait about a half hour and you can see how it just boosts your metabolism. Now you're into fat burning mode. You're into that ketogenic state.
Mhm.
When I add oxygen therapy, which is one of the therapies that I do, and I have a couple of clients that do it from home. Oh my gosh, talk about oxygen as a catalyst to boost your metabolism. You go and measure after doing an oxygen session, which takes about 15 minutes, and it's amazing what it does for your metabolism.
Oxygen or hydrogen?
Oxygen, yeah.
Oh, I never
So
heard of that. Okay.
yeah, so it's one of those things that is still coming down in price. However, compared to and I'll just share the most common form of what can be home-based oxygen therapy is called hyperbaric, or what we call mild hyperbaric.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
those of you that are listening in, perhaps you or a loved one has had a significant chronic health issue or a child with autism. You may have looked into either leasing or purchasing a mild hyperbaric chamber. And they usually run upwards of, at minimum, probably $8,000 these days. I've owned 2 of them. One was a single person chamber, one was a 2-person chamber. I had those in my brick and mortar practice years ago, and I love it. Still a wonderful therapy. It's a huge investment, but again, people who are really into biohacking or trying to overcome a significant chronic issue, oxygen is so key. No matter, and that's the thing I've learned is We got to hone in on what we're eating. We need to use oxygen as the catalyst to make all these other biohacking or all these other interventions is like the catalyst to make them work even that much better. So another version of oxygen therapy that I've used in my clinical practice that now is available at the home in the home setting for about probably a fourth to a half of a traditional hyperbaric unit is called adaptive contrast oxygen therapy. I know it's a mouthful, but it's based on the work of a physiologist, German physiologist from way back in the early 70s. And I read his book. It's a hard read. It goes into the anatomy of the cell and the physiology of the cell and how the cell responds to oxygen, whether it be delivered through pressure, through hyperbarics, or in this way, what we're doing is we have a mask on and we're breathing oxygen, almost 100% oxygen from a chamber that fills up from an oxygen concentrator. And you do a brief 15-minute workout as you go through states of low and high oxygen concentrations. And basically 15 minutes doing this type of exercise with an oxygen mask is about the equivalent of an hour sitting in a mild hyperbaric oxygen therapy unit. And I like it because, again, cost effective. Some people can't get into a small chamber there because of of claustrophobia.
Claustrophobia, yeah.
It can be rather uncomfortable. You can't sit up in a lot of them. You have to lie down. And for people with back problems or hip problems, that may not be conducive. And again, the investment is the biggest thing. Plus, what I like about this delivery form of oxygen is it gets people moving. So that's all you need in combination with this oxygen device is a recumbent bike or treadmill at home. And again, any little thing just to get your heart rate up.
So
But
is
it's an
that
amazing.
I went to an ACIM conference a long time ago, and they had something called SWAT. It was like something where
EWAT.
what was that?
You probably EWAT.
EWAT. Yes.
EWAT. Yeah.
EWAT.
So it's
So,
commonly referred to as exercise with oxygen therapy or
so
EWAT.
is that the
I
same thing?
use it's similar depending on the technology or the therapy or the manufacturer. There are some subtle differences that can make a big difference in the delivery of the
Got it.
oxygen into the body.
Hmm.
That's why I like to use the traditional term based on the original science back in the 1970s called adaptive contrast oxygen therapy. But they're kind of grouped into the same category. Again, EWAT's still very applicable, but again, depending on the technology and how you're applying this. But I love it, and it's so easy to do. You talk about energizing your body and your brain when you come off of a
Interesting.
session. Yeah, you're going to feel the workout effect, but you feel just, oh my gosh, your brain just becomes awake and you feel energized. And it's a wonderful, and again, up until a couple of years ago, this is something that you would have to go to a clinic. And again, there's very few clinics that even have or even know about these things, unless you're in this realm of biohacking or functional medicine. Nonetheless, now that we have the ability to actually invest in these kinds of technologies and use them at home. So oxygen. So, and again, as you just mentioned, there's now these devices or even capsules that you can dissolve in your water to super enrich your body with oxygen. Hey, for the rest of us that can't afford maybe a couple $1,000s for an EWAT system or an adaptive contrast oxygen system at home, hey, how can we oxygenate our water and get some oxygen, more oxygen through our body that way? Of course, the easiest, least expensive way is to get out and get some aerobic exercise, even if it's just a brisk walk. But again, anything that we can do, especially if we're dealing with a chronic issue, to maximize the oxygen into our body, that high concentration of oxygen is like the catalyst that makes all these other biohacking tools even work better. So it's neat stuff. So since we're talking about that, but again, tracking and monitoring your metabolism, this is just another biohacking tool. It's interesting because I'm also looking at my desktop. I'm at a stand-up desk, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 home-based interventions. All of them, I mean, very, very low to moderate. I mean, one of them is more moderate priced. That up until a few years ago, I wouldn't even have imagined being able to fit this all on one desktop. Never mind doing it at home. And all for relatively simple to use with some basic instruction from someone like myself. And that's part of where my practice has shifted. Yes, I'm still a physician. I help people work through and help them to heal their bodies themselves. But more importantly, I'm more of a coach these days to
Yeah.
help introduce people to these interventions, how to get the most out of them, give them a basic orientation to them, apply them to their specific needs. Because you can invest in these things, but if you're overwhelmed by the technology, again, most of them are not overwhelming. They're very simple to use. But if you don't know how to quite properly apply it, it can only be so effective. So
Mhm.
it's a matter of how do I best apply these for my needs? And that's part of what I've come to learn over the years for different conditions, different ailments and such.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
yeah, some wonderful stuff. And I'm looking at all at one place. So
So
while we're
do
on
you
the
have your red light
subject,
therapy there? Do you have your
yeah,
red
so
light
let's talk
therapy?
about that.
Okay.
So what I call photobiomodulation therapy, commonly referred to as red light therapy or LED therapy or laser therapy or cold laser therapy specifically, that all falls under the umbrella of photobiomodulation therapy. Basically, the application of low energy light, either directly applied on the brain or anywhere else in the body, to help reduce inflammation, to activate your mitochondria for better energy output, to help the body to heal at the cellular level. It has so many applications. In fact, this is the first, if you want to back again, there was what I don't even recall, there was a biohacking term back 24, 25 years ago when I started my practice. But this was the first energy-based therapy that I brought into my practice, using laser therapy to help people with chronic musculoskeletal problems, neurological problems, help to recover from injury. And then I actually started applying it on specific acupuncture points to help people with addictions, particularly smoking addiction. It's amazing the applications. And again, just like what I mentioned with oxygen therapy, there are numerous published research studies on the application of light therapy, LED light therapy, red light therapy. So this is one application of it specifically for the brain. So this is a device you wear on your head, and it has high-powered LED diodes that penetrate well into the skull, into the brain, to help reduce inflammation of the brain, to increase circulation, to activate those mitochondria, so your nerve cells, called your neurons, can function better. And this, again, this up until a few years ago was at a price point that most people could not afford for home use. You'd have to go to a clinic. They would put this on you as you sat and maybe did other therapies. But now, and this is an old form factor, by the way, we're working with new form factors that have all these wires built into like a bicycle helmet. You just simply turn it on or it links up to an app. And as you're sitting there watching television, reading a book, you could be applying LED light therapy, red light therapy to your brain specifically to enhance your brain's performance and function. So again, just one way that we can engage our brain and get our brain functioning better, or in fact, in the realm of concussion injury or TBI, traumatic brain injury, this is like the gold standard, the first and foremost thing for practices like mine that we go to recover from that concussion or a brain injury is red light therapy. All right.
And
This here,
what is the cost, Dr. Silva? What is the cost of that, just as an idea?
anywhere right now, the most advanced technology that just came on the market, that is the advanced version of this. And just to give people perspective, this is circa 2016. It sounds old now, 9 years. This back in the day, I believe, was $3,200. There's a nasal cannula that's part of this too. So you clip this at the edge of your nose, and this shines into the frontal cortex, which is a lot of our cognitive processes. But $3,200. Now we have one that's just without all these wires. It's just a helmet. You make a small adjustment on the back. It links up to it's a rechargeable device. It links up to an app on your phone, and that comes in right around $1,700.
Wow, wow. And
And
those things last
anybody in the
forever.
household, you can
Yeah,
use it. You can,
yeah.
again, this is not just about recovery from injury, but we can use this as a biohacking tool to better our brain's performance. So if you want to be better as a parent, you want to be better as a weekend warrior athlete, or you just want more energy, you want more clearer thought, something as simple as putting on a helmet while you're watching television at night or you're reading a book, 15, 20 minutes, and you've now energized your brain, you've reduced inflammation, you've increased circulation in your brain. So going again beyond just recovering from injury or ailment. So that is just one of the things along with neurofeedback that
Yeah.
we use as one of our primary go-to options.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so funny because we've talked about the Avasia, and one of the reason that we're together, that we met each other, is because I attended one of your courses with Avasia, and you have a technique that we discuss and we learn how to do on the vagal nerve. Would you like to discuss
Mhm.
that real quick? Because we've got
Yeah,
one
so
minute.
vagal nerve stimulation has become really big in the last several years, and there's several different devices. Again, up until years ago, most people never even heard of them. Still a lot of people, even physicians, still don't know what the power of the vagus nerve. I won't get into those details. You can go online on Amazon. You can pick up a book. There's several books have been published about it. But anyway, yeah, using the Avasia technology, which is what we call biofeedback microcurrent therapy, we can stimulate non-invasively our vagus nerve, which runs down from the connections in our brain to our neck. What's important about this one particular nerve is it connects to all of our internal organs and glands throughout our whole thoracic and abdomen. So it's one of the most direct connections of our brain to all these internal vital organs. And by activating and stimulating this vagus nerve on a daily basis, you can actually reduce inflammation, you can help with pain management, you can help with better gastrointestinal function, better cardiovascular function, and it's simple to do. And here's just another example of a vagal nerve stimulation device specifically. Now, the great thing about the Avasia and how we met is there's so many more applications for it, but this is just an example. A few $100s, you put this around your neck, links up to an app on your phone, and you just sit again while you're sitting watching television on your computer doing work. You do vagal nerve stimulation as part of your daily wellness routine, and there's so much application for this one little thing, one part of our nervous system.
Wow, I'm going to start calling you Inspector Gadget from this point on, because you do have lots of tools. I want to go visit your home just to just play with all the different tools that you have. I think it's wonderful that you've figured out different ways to help the body heal as naturally as possible with the body as opposed to against the body. So many
Mhm.
times we are sabotaging ourselves and we don't even know it. And so thank you so much for these tools, this information that's going to just help our lives to be much better. So thank you so much, Dr. Silva.
You're welcome. And if
And
we could just add, if anyone goes to my website, drjohnsilva.com, if you go to the More tab and click on Contact Us, you can put in your name and just put Lily and biohacking. And I will send you a PDF that has a list of a lot of what we've discussed from previous shows, what we touched on today, just even if it
love that.
serves as a framework for people to start researching, start looking into and exploring things that may be the first time for a lot of people listening today. So I'll be
Yeah.
more than happy to send to anyone who puts that on my website.
Absolutely, absolutely. And remember the 45 minute, we could also get that to you, that if you want a free consultation with Dr. Silva to
Yes.
learn more about it, you can just text me or email me at 407-373-5959 or Lily at whenyouneedafriend.com. But please remember that we have the Rewiring the Brain with Neurofeedback Training 2.0, and that will help us. You can watch the webinar that we did. And remember that it's up to you. It's up to you. Don't give your power away. Take your power back and start figuring out different tools that will help you grow. So thank you, Dr. Silva. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lily McDermott and Dr. John Silva wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. Good job.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lily and McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.